Welcome to Wildlife Outdoors with your host, Russell and Jose. If you have a passion for conservation of the outdoors, or you're enjoying a calming hike in the mountains, an exhilarating kayak trip on the river, feeling a fish on the end of your line, cooking on an open flame in a primitive campsite, or stalking big game, just waiting for the perfect shot, you're in the right place. So put on your boots and polarized sunglasses and come along for the ride.
Welcome back to another episode of Wildlife Outdoors. I'm Russell, joined by my co-host Jose, and today we have another exciting one for you. So we have a multifaceted artist whose passions span tattoos, artistry, fishing, and skateboarding. He has the skills to reel in the big ones, ink masterpieces, and shred on the board. So today, help us welcome Drew Wilson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Aside from this wild flooding that we're having that's making fishing very hard, everything else has been going good.
Dude, you ain't lying. Did y'all get a lot of water over there in your area?
We got 11.5 inches of rain in 3 days. And
damn,
the first 2 days afterwards were really cool because they made these like unicorn situations that you would have fish where they shouldn't be. Like you have carp tailing on in a field, stuff like that. I had a couple of days ago where I had a bunch of big mouth buffalo at the outflow of a lake, and they were all like 20 to 30 pounds. And I think I caught 12 of them.
Dude, that's insane.
On a fly rod. Yeah. On a fly rod. I ended the day on like an 18 to 20 pound blue cat that I thought it was a buffalo when I hooked it because I was fly fishing and didn't expect a catfish.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day they were gone.
Really?
And after they were gone, it was a bummer. It's like,
damn.
Now it's just flooded and not good. So I went fishing today, and a place I go sometimes has 13 extra foot of water.
Holy shit.
So we were rowing the drift boat like through the trees where it would usually be like you'd be driving your truck, and we didn't catch any fish, of course, because they have all the room in the world to go out and explore. But it was still fun. It was neat to see, the different landscape, and felt like I was in the Amazon beyond that much water.
Dude, that is insane. Yeah. We got a lot here. Obviously I'm not too far from you, and I haven't got a chance to go out and fish, but there's some areas that I've seen that I don't know if I've ever seen water in, fields. And like there's a field. So I head towards Little Rock. I work my office downtown Little Rock. Dude. And so heading up towards Benton, there's a field over to the left that is always, we see deer there all the time. And it's just flat. Like I would have never thought the water would get there. And the little creek, I think it's called Caney Creek, was so wide that it filled up that entire field. It was just like this whole flooded mess. So I couldn't even imagine. There probably was carp over in that field just hanging out,
Yeah.
But there was like a little pocket of dry land where the deer were hanging out. It's pretty cool to see.
It's so neat to see fish where they shouldn't be. It's one of my favorite things to do is catch fish where they're not supposed to be. So if I'm going trout fishing, I'll drive over smallmouth streams to go to the trout rivers. And if I happen to see a smallmouth in the trout river, then I'm going to try to catch it because he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And to have carp and gar and stuff running in what would usually be fields where you would see deer and turkeys and stuff, it's so neat to see fish tailing out there. But it's also, they have all the room in the world right now. So
yeah,
you're taking a condensed population of fish and you're giving them thousands of extra acres to explore it. So it's not easy to catch them right now.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine. I wish I had the opportunity to get out there and go, but I haven't been. And it's finally starting to recede a lot over here. Like the Saline River's not even really rushing like it was a couple days ago anymore. And so everything's starting to pretty much die down. And now that it's starting to warm up again, hopefully the fishing's going to start heating up. And I'm ready to go get on smallmouth. I love fly fishing for smallmouth. So I normally hit up the Washtar, the Caddo Rivers, and then get on smallmouth there.
Yeah, it's time. You're in a good area for them down there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right between us, there's this little creek called Bear Creek out near Harris that's got smallies in it. It's like my closest one that I like to go fish. We have one closer to town, but I don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, Bear Creek. I feel like I've seen that. Is it? It's over
near
kind
Harris.
of. Okay.
Yeah, it's near Harris.
I wonder where I've seen it.
If you're driving.
Yeah.
If you're going from Russellville to Hot Springs, it's right in the middle. You drive right over it. It's really pretty little creek.
Nice. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that's probably the creek that I was crossing when I saw like a whole sounder of hogs one time. There couldn't have been any less than 50 of them in a field.
That's awesome. I've seen some
Yeah.
pigs out there, but not that many.
Yeah, dude, it was insane. At first, I was just like, there's no way those are like, I thought somebody was out there herding goats or something because there were so many of them. And it was kind of dusk. And then I looked, I said, no, those are pigs. 100% those are pigs. And I mean, it was just massive, massive ones. And I was like, and of course, there was a bunch of piglets too. But I mean, just this huge sounder of them. I was like, oh my goodness. So
we don't have a ton of them here in Russellville. I see them on occasion. I saw a pig in the road in downtown Little Rock the other day that had been hit.
Really?
I was dropping a client off at the airport. I don't remember exactly where I was in downtown. We were running around West Little Rock. Dropped a client off at the airport, was just going to the liquor store and like going to grab some food. And yeah, saw a pig, probably like a 30 pounder that had been hit. And I'd never seen them in Little Rock before. They're getting
that's
bright.
crazy. Yeah. Dude, I've been here for 5 years in Arkansas. And I think I've seen maybe 3 of them the entire time that I've been here.
Yeah, man, it's more and more though. They're getting bolder and bolder.
Yeah, that they are, and they're coming up. There's a lot of them down in Jose's area.
Oh yeah, dude, we're covered up in them. That's bad.
I'd like to have some closer to here. I would really enjoy it if I could go get like that 40 to 50 pound range. Like I'd like to be able to go take one of those sometime, but it's such a drive that I don't make it happen.
Yeah.
Put it on the grill hole or what? Put it on the grill hole like this.
Oh no! I want to process them and make bacon and things like that.
Oh,
and then
gotcha.
have like pork fat for venison sausage and all that stuff. I'm not even a big hunter. I don't want to allude that I'm a big hunter. I just have the desire to hunt sometimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't go the bacon route with wild hogs.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't be the best bacon. But I mean, wild hog is good. It's just not. I would lean more towards a fattier species than a wild hog for bacon. But
and again, as I say it, I'm not super much like big of a hunter, but I enjoy it, and I just want to process one and just try it in different ways. I've had a bunch of like wild hog food, but I've not ever done it with something that I've harvested myself. So I would like to. I just wish we had more of them. I mean, it's funny because everyone else wishes they had less of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like a fine line. And I think that's why Arkansas Game and Fish has started putting regulations on them here, is because in Texas, it's, a lot of people make a lot of profit off it. So they're never really going to get rid of the problem over there because there's so many people that are doing it for a business. They don't want it to go away. And I think one of the things, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I read an article saying that Arkansas Game and Fish was doing DNA testing and stuff on the hogs that they're finding in Arkansas. And there was numerous species that were from counties on the other side of the state that were found on the other side of the state. Like people were actually moving them over there to try to make profit for selling hunts and stuff like that. So it's a fine line on wanting them, not wanting them, and then the people that are going to try to make a profit off it. But hog hunting's fun. I've been a few times. I've only harvested one myself, and it was a 350-pound boar, and we didn't eat it because it was just disgusting.
I just want like that 40 to 50 range, simple, not tough, not all skunky. But yeah, it's on my to-do list. It's just, I have a long to-do list, so I don't know. The traps they have for them now are crazy. You see someone who's like, you be at a bar and someone will be on their phone, your buddy, and you're like, what do you do? He's like, look at all these pigs in my trap. I think I'm going to drop it on them. It's like, that's crazy. They round them up so easily, but they reproduce so quick. Yeah. I don't know. I hope that, I shouldn't hope for it. I feel like you hear a fat guy and a skinny guy talking, and then guy's like, I wish I could gain weight. He's like, I wish I could give you some of my weight. That's kind of how I feel about the pigs, where it's like, man, I feel a little weird saying I wish we could get them, but if I didn't have to drive super far. Yeah. But Bear Creek's only an hour away, maybe 45 minutes away, so I should run out there and check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely should, because I saw a bunch of them out there. So, and there was I'd say probably about half of them are probably in that size range that you're looking at. So,
yeah. And no one cares anymore. Like in Arkansas, they don't really care that much if you take them. Like you could literally pull over the side of the road and shoot one and throw it in the back of the truck, and they'd probably just high five you. So
got one.
yeah, I'm not telling people that's how they should do it, but I think it would be ethical to just drive out and do it. I don't think anyone would be mad at me.
Right. Especially the farmers that are having to, pay all the thousands of dollars to fix the issues that they're causing on their ranches.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
For sure. So, well, this episode was mainly going to be about fly fishing. So I guess we can kind of transition back to that. So how long have you been fly fishing for?
It's been a while now. I don't have like a exact date, but it has controlled my life pretty heavily for the last maybe 11 or 12 years.
Nice.
But there was a time before I fished my entire life, and I learned to fly fish a bit when I was in maybe like 6th grade. My grandparents sent me to a summer camp, and it was like, well, I came from a family that wasn't like overly financially secure, and my grandparents had money, and they sent me to a summer camp for rich kids pretty much. And so it was my first exposure to fly fishing. And that was the only rod and reels they had there were fly rods. So if you wanted it was on the Pertinalis River in South Texas.
Uh-huh.
And so if you wanted to go fish the river, like you had the fly rod option and that was it. And so I learned how to cast them a little bit then and caught fish on them, but it was more of an inconvenience than something I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And then as an adult, I got introduced to it through tattooing and started a bit. And then probably 2013 is when it just took over my whole life. And after that, I've been pretty much ruined. I think in 2013, I started like trading people tattoos for like fishing tattoos for fishing stuff. So it'd be like, bring me a box of flies and I'll tattoo one of them on you and stuff like that. And that was, 2013 for sure. I moved to Fayetteville in 2014, and that town really allowed it to become even worse of a habit because there's so much smallmouth fishing and stuff near there. And a dedicated fly shop, McClellan's Fly Shop in Fayetteville, having like an actual true to like dedicated fly shop with cool employees really made it to where this was all I thought about.
That's freaking awesome. Yeah, I've been fly fishing around the same amount of time. So, but it didn't really start eating me up until I'd say probably 5 years ago when I moved up to Arkansas. Because I was like, there's trout water. And then it just turns out that I don't really ever fish for trout anyways. But it piqued my interest enough. I was like, hey, I'm going to live near trout water. And so I started really getting into the fly fishing thing and then just decided to fish for bass and pickerel and carp anyways. So,
yeah. Man,
Dude, so
pickerel.
Yeah, dude, pickerel are fun. Have you ever targeted them?
Yeah, I have. We just recently found some here near where I live in like this weird little pond out in the woods that you got to go. Like I have a drift boat and we'll drop it in out there, but there's no way to get a boat in this thing very easily. And it's a small pond, and we caught some nice bass out of it. And then recently I had a buddy catch a pretty decent pickerel out of it. And so now I know that we have them, which is neat. I caught them in, I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say, but I used to sneak out onto Camp Robinson, the Air Force or the military base in Little Rock. We live near there, and there was a section of creek that you could jump over a fence and go out. So you're on a military base illegally, and it was just so stocked full of pickerel. I mean, like thousands of them. And I keep thinking about going back down there, but now I'm an adult, and they probably just, get me in some real trouble.
Right.
You have them out near where you're at?
Yeah, dude. So have you ever heard of Lake DeGray?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're in Lower Lake there. And so there's the channel that comes out of the main lake, and then it goes down to Lower Lake. And then right above that dam, there's a big channel, and there's just a bunch of hydrilla. And, dude, they're packed in there. I've actually caught them. So I've caught bigger pickerel than I have caught northern pike in Alaska. Like, I'm catching 24-inch, 24, and I think the biggest I've caught on out there is 24.5-inch pickerel. So,
are you touching a lot? Are you touching a lot of the day, or is it like a 2-fish day?
No, I mean, we actually do tournaments. We do kayak tournaments out there. Okay. And there's been days that I've caught 15 of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
I need to come down and do that with you. That sounds fun.
Hey, man, yeah, come on. I'll show you. And it's crazy, though, because it's weird when you hear about people catching, pike, pickerel, muskie, stuff like that. Like you're expecting this crazy fight. It's like, oh, I probably need to bring a 9 or a 10 weight rod.
No,
Dude, I'm out there catching them on a 5-weight. They don't fight as hard as you would think. The take is aggressive, but the fight isn't as bad as I expected. So yeah, bring out your trout rod and have some fun.
Yeah. I think most everything Essex wise, like any of the toothy critters are like that, where you see musky guys hook a 50-inch fish, and sometimes they get the fight of a lifetime, but most of the time they're in the net in the first 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast, But
yeah.
I just want to learn more and experience more Arkansas fishing. And so anytime there's something that I haven't really done, it doesn't matter what it is, I want to go do it.
I'm the same way. I like to fish for weird stuff.
Everybody just wants to fish the White River and the Norfolk River and the Little Red River. And aside from that, like you'll hear very little other, maybe Crooked Creek for smallmouth, but we have so much cool water.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get touched. It's wild.
That's true. I like to go out on some creeks and fish for red horse suckers and carp, and I mean, Jose and I have both caught koi out of Lake Hamilton here in Hot Springs. Like, nice. We love fishing for the weird stuff. So if you ever want to come over and do some fishing, I'll get you on some stuff.
Anything that'll eat a fly, dude.
Yeah, if it'll eat a fly, I'm into it. I've come down to Hot Springs a decent amount recently. I was there maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's not that far of a drive. I have some land in Hot Springs Village, and so we go down there. I'm trying to sell it, so it's like going down and make sure the neighbors haven't knocking my for sale signs off.
Right.
And just then we'll go mess around in Hot Springs for the day. But I've not spent any time fishing down there. I fished the Narrows once. I think it's what is like the Little Missouri River.
Yeah, Narrows Dam.
Once.
I hate that place.
It was really boring.
That's the place that I took you to, Jose, that I fall every time I freaking go there. I've been there 5 times and I've fallen 3 times out of those 5 times. Every time it's been below freezing outside and I get water in my waders.
That's where you hooked yourself in the ear too or whatever, right?
Yeah. No. Are you talking about where I hooked myself in the shoulder?
Yes, yeah.
No, that was on Christmas Day at Carpenter Dam with a
Carpenter Dam.
Yeah, it was it was an articulated fly and I got both hooks past the barb in my shoulder. That was fun.
Hospital trip, or did you get them out?
No, I was able to get them out. Luckily, there was an issue with the dam, or there was energy workers at the dam for some reason. And I was like, hey, man, do y'all have any lineman's pliers? Can you just pop these barbs through? And one of the guys about threw up because my skin was stretching so far and it went into the muscle. So my muscle was just twitching like crazy. And the other guy said, dude, I don't care. I said, it's going to hurt, but I need you to push it past the barb. And he was able to get pull one of them out, pull it out, and then push the other one past the barb. And then I went home and got my side cutters and cut it out.
Good.
Yeah.
Man, that's brutal though.
Yeah, it was rough. And to make matters worse, I didn't catch anything that trip either before that. So
I buried a big articulated streamer in my thumb once. And the moment it hit, it went like straight to the curve, and it's oh man, this is I'm screwed. And it was right in an area where it's like I'm not going to be able to push it through. I'm just going to have to like do that thing where you push down and rip it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, like so deep, a centimeter at least in, and just one of those moments of like sheer panic. You're out fishing by yourself. And then I turned my hand to like look to see if I could get it through, and it just fell out. And I was like, the one barbless, like articulate streamer, like I had a trout streamer on a striper fishing, and it was just didn't even realize it was barbless, and was just so thankful. But I've dealt with a few scenarios where I'll get a hook stuck in me where I got to go get help from people.
Yeah.
And that's never any fun. No one handles it as good as the person who's got the hook in them either.
Right.
It's always like that. You got someone who's just looking sick.
Yeah. I had a buddy. When I was living in South Texas, we were living maybe like 45 minutes from Corpus, about an hour 15 from Port A. And my buddy one day went fishing by himself, and he's a conventional fisherman. He caught a redfish on a topwater. Some big old trebles on that topwater. It was like a rattling rapala or something like that. Little topwater plug. And he grabbed the redfish behind, I guess, the gill plate, and it moved and it fell. And when it fell, it drug one of the barbs from that treble right into his thumb. Yeah, with the weight of the fish. He's like, dude, it was just flopping everywhere, and I could just feel it like digging in. And so he eventually unhooked the fish, and he was able to work the hook out from the split ring, and so he just had to call it a day. And he had to drive himself with one hand. He was driving a 4-cylinder stick shift Tacoma too. He drove his stick shift Tacoma straight to the hospital. They were able to take it out and all that stuff, and they had it in a little cup. He's like, yeah, they let me keep the hooks on his shelf there in his RV when he was living there. Dude, he was like, he was so pissed. He's like, dude, I couldn't fish for 4 weeks, man. It was brutal. Yeah, man, it was pretty gnarly. I felt bad. I was like, damn, dude, I should have been there with you, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, you fish enough, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, you got to pay to play.
Yep, that is true. It happens to everybody.
In anything that you do, you got to pay to play one way or another.
Yeah. Now I'd like to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. First, we have Bucked Up. When you're out in the wild, whether you're stalking a trophy buck, casting for that elusive bass, or trekking through rugged terrain, you need more than just grit. You need fuel that matches your passion for the outdoors. That's where Bucked Up energy drinks and supplements come in. Crafted for those who live life on the edge, Bucked Up offers a range of products designed to enhance your performance, endurance, and recovery. From the early morning hunts to the late night fishing trips, Bucked Up has your back. Use promo code WLO20 at checkout to receive 20% off your order. Explore their full range of products by clicking on the link in the description. Next, we have Foretold Coffee Company. Start your adventure with a brew as bold as the journey ahead. Foretold Coffee Company crafts ethically sourced small batch roast for those who find peace in the wild. Founded by Army veteran Joshua Sandoval, each cup reflects resilience, exploration, and the spirit of the outdoors. Whether it's the light Peruvian cocoa, the medium El Salvadoran bourbon, or the dark Mexican honey, each cup is perfect for the base camp mornings or fireside evenings. Subscribe to their monthly coffee club for 10% off and stay fueled for every expedition. To learn more, visit foretoldcoffeeco.com. So speaking of the Texas coast, that's actually how I decided to reach out to you, because I was down at Fowler's place, down at the Fly Trap in Rockport, when he opened up your packages that you sent him with. You sent him 3. I want to say it was like a redfish and maybe a sheepy, or I think there was 3 of them that three boards that you had painted that you sent to him to put up in the shop. So I was like, I want to reach out to him, see if he wants to be on the podcast. So that's where I got the idea.
I looked at your message today, and that's why I thought you might be from somewhere else, because of that, since he's so far down there. I like Chris.
Exactly.
Chris is a good egg. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he is. Have you ever been to any of his parties that he throws down at his place?
I have not. I want to, and I need to prioritize it. We lived in this Airstream that I'm in right now. We lived in this camper for a little over a year on the road, and we spent, I think, 7 or 8 weeks in Rockport. And so that's when I became friends with Chris, because we were just there. And I'll make trips down there to go fish and stuff, and I always make sure to go hang with him. So saw him just in December, but I haven't prioritized those events that he throws. I need to. I being a tattooer and being like known in fishing, if I go there during one of those parties, it's going to be very expected of me to work.
Yeah.
And I love tattooing, but then that means I got to take all my stuff, try to be like in the zone. And I always kind of shy away from stuff where people are going to expect me to do really anything other than be a little drunk. And, but it's also an 11-hour drive for me. So I need to make it a priority. I want to go to one of them. I like Chris a lot, and he's an adventurous angler. He's down to do all the goofiest, dumbest fishing.
Yeah.
And I'm always like that. And so he kind of matches my freak, I guess, as far as going out and targeting sheep's head on the rock with like jig flies and stuff that people conventionally wouldn't do or traditionally wouldn't do in saltwater fly fishing.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoy it down there. That place is also, Rockport's got such cool fishing.
Yeah.
It's so
it does.
Actually,
my family has some property down there on Copano Bay, so I used to go there quite often. Unfortunately, I haven't been there a lot since I've been a fly fisherman, though. I used to do a lot of conventional and surf fishing out there, but being a fly fisherman, I've only been out there a handful of times and haven't had much luck. It seems like every time I go, I bring the shit weather. And I think it was like 30 mile per hour winds last time I was there. And Chris is like, yeah, so you brought the bad weather, huh? So we just basically hung out at the shop.
You got to have 5 days at least for any saltwater trip, because if you have 5 days, you might fish one of them. You might fish all 5 of them, but if you have 5 days, you're almost guaranteed a window of fishing.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it down there. There's all these little ditches in town there that have tilapia all through them.
Really?
Thick. Yeah, and we don't have them really in Arkansas. They haven't had
Mhm.
there. We have a state record, so they've tried them a few places, but you don't ever see tilapia here. And yeah, there'll be this like side of the road drainage ditches down there that'll have like tilapia the size of your hand. And you wouldn't want to eat them, of course, but it's really fun to try to catch them.
Right.
You're not supposed to let them go either because they're invasive, but I'd be letting them go still. I'm not gonna catch who I kill. But they has such different fishing from Arkansas, so I like to try to do it all when I'm there.
Yeah, I saw on your Instagram that you've done some redfish fishing. Was that down in Texas, or is that Louisiana?
I've done it. I've done it in most of the places you can in the States. I do fish in South Texas. If I'm going to do it myself, I usually go down there and fish like Rockport, or I'll drive all the way down to Port Isabel. But I fish a lot in Alabama if I can. I really like the Alabama coast. And I've done it in Louisiana. I enjoy visiting Louisiana, but it's hard to do DIY fishing there.
Yeah.
Like it is. And that mud is so deep. So it's like there's not a lot of options for getting out and walking around.
Yeah.
But Alabama coast is really, really cool. And it's such a small amount of coast, and the fishing is really awesome. I love it there. And it's so rad. And I feel like you get a lot more of the silver fish there, like whether it be like, I don't know, ladyfish, or there's pompano, and you get Spanish Max that come in out on the beach. And when you go to Louisiana, you're there for like redfish, sheepshead, and drum, and maybe trout. You don't really see anything else. And Alabama has all those, plus a plethora of other species. I've caught lookdowns or moonfish, whatever you want to call those there. They get a tarpon run like anywhere else. There's, people catch snook there on occasion. There's people catch permit in Alabama sometimes,
Really?
I've never heard of it on a fly, but I've heard of traditional tackle fisher anglers doing it. But that's where I go if I have a choice. But I fish redfish in Florida as well, and done it over both coasts. And I anywhere really you catch them in the United States, I'm down to go try. If I'm doing it myself, though, I go to Texas because I can do it all from a kayak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can see how Louisiana will be hard. Every time I've gone red fishing in Louisiana, it's normally out of Venice, and it's always with a guide because I couldn't even imagine trying to navigate, myself or anything like that, especially with a kayak. And I definitely know what you mean there.
There's a lot, or you have to paddle a mile and a half to get to the area, and in Rockport or Port A or any of those places, you literally just throw your kayak in and you're seeing redfish within like a few minutes if you know how to look for them.
Yeah.
I've had days where I'd be 100 foot from the boat ramp and already have a bent rod, and I like that. But I also like it down there. I like the culture and the people, and they got good food too.
Oh, yeah, they do. Definitely way better than Arkansas. I mean, nothing against Arkansas. Actually, everything against Arkansas. The food here sucks. Someone needs to get with the damn program.
It just depends on what you're looking for and where you're going.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Arkansas food, so hold on there. Yeah.
Well, maybe you can point me in the right direction.
It just depends on where you go. That's where it's a little tricky. I think we got mostly good Mexican food. It's, it's Tex-Mex, but cheese dips from Arkansas. Like queso is not a Mexican dish. It's from Little Rock, Arkansas. And so I feel like our Tex-Mex is superior unless you get out west where you get into like the green chili area. But we got some gems, man. Like we got good pizza. Vino's is in Little Rock. Vino's is great pizza.
Yeah, Vino's is good. I do like Hideaway Pizza as well. And then we got Rocky's here in Hot Springs. It's pretty good. And Grateful Head. Have you ever been to Grateful Head here in Hot Springs?
I drove past it and made some joke about being grateful for some head, but I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know. But I literally 2 weeks ago, because I'm always sexually harassing my wife in any way possible. Like it doesn't matter what it is. I've got a formula for sexually harassing your wife. You basically take any 2 words. Like, so if you passed a road that's like Kingfisher, you say, I would like to blank your blank. You just insert those 2 words. You'd be like, I'd like to king your fisher. And then you have to say, you know what I'm saying? And then you just laugh and that's it. And Yeah, it was Grateful Head. I saw that place the other day and used it to sexually harass my wife.
And it's a beer garden and pizza place. You got to try it.
I will. But yeah, we got some good food. We got good burgers here in Russellville. CJ's Burgers. Shout out
Really?
CJ's. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Dude,
got a good burger.
going back to the Tex-Mex thing, man, I was really surprised. So Russell had moved in, and I went there. I think maybe that following, I don't know, winter or something. Went to go fishing, and we
Narrows.
finished. Yeah, I went to go fishing. We got off the water. We were super hungry. I can't remember the name of the town we were in. But we found this little
Murfreesboro.
Mexican. Yeah, Murfreesboro. And we found this little Mexican joint, and then we all kind of looked at each other. Man, I mean, we're from Texas. We spent some time in South Texas where the Mexican food is like stellar. And we're like, man, screw it, dude. Let's go check it out. And dude, I was really surprised at how good it was. Service was awesome. The food was fantastic. It was a pretty legit little place, man.
It's funny, man. I just prioritize Mexican food over anything because it's always good. And I mean, even the bad places do like a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if there's Mexican people, it's generally going to be good Mexican food because they fucking do food so well, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, ours is all cheese based, you know? I think when you get to South Texas, it gets a little more, you get a little more heat, you know?
Mhm.
And Arkansas is just cheese related, which I'm down. I like cheese. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd preach that to anyone that if you're going to be in Arkansas, you got to eat Mexican food. There's some bad places though. I'll tell you.
There's a lot of bad places.
Yeah, there's some bad ones. There's one over at Mountain Home that's by the White River, and their cheese dips like gravy, and like it just ain't right. But there's not any Mexican people working there either. That's the issue. It's Mexican food. It's gotta be prepared right.
It's direct.
So,
Yeah,
when you're out here.
Russell and I floated to Buffalo. We went to go have dinner in town one time. We went to this little Mexican joint there. It was also really, really good.
That was in Marshall, I think it was.
Okay, that's in the middle of nothing too.
Yeah. It was interesting experience there, but the food was pretty good.
The food was pretty good.
I ate Mexican food like 4 nights a week. That's I ate it last night, and now I'm thinking about it right now. I'm like, oh, I got to get that tonight.
See, I do love me some Mexican food. I've actually been surprised lately with all the Indian food that I've been trying around here. Not here in Hot Springs. They closed down the Taste of India that we had here. But in Little Rock, I mean, there's Saffron, there's Curry Kitchen, there's Taj Mahal, and then there's one in Whitehall. Hear me out. It's in a gas station, right?
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, it's called Curry Express, and they opened up this gas station with the idea in mind of having an Indian restaurant. You go in, you get glass plates, you get crystal glassware, you get, actual silverware, and it's a buffet Monday through Friday for lunch of all sorts of different Indian stuff, and it's $18. I'm like, yeah.
that rolls. There's one this side of Oklahoma City, about 40 miles east of Oklahoma City on I-40. It's like that. It's a gas station. They get a buffet, and they have a brown bar like every other gas station in the South, where you go in and they got all their fried foods on your lamps. It's always like chicken and Crispitos and stuff. I always just call that the brown bar because everything's brown. But the brown bar at that gas station is like samosas. You go in there and it's like Indian food and samosas, and it's like, man, this is so awesome. We have one kind of near here. It's a bit of a drive, but I wish we had good Indian food local. We don't have any, so it's not like we have bad Indian food. It's just at least 40 miles to the nearest place.
Dude, when I was going to college in South Texas, there's a little gas station. It had a little Indian restaurant called the Spy Station, and dude, like, sometimes you can see people like walking over with the vats of food, walking to the shop to bring some stuff when they're running low, and people loved it. And it got so popular, they raised enough money to open up their own little shop, and it ended up ranking, I think, in the top 100 best restaurants in the state of Texas. And dude,
so
it is
rad.
Really, really good Indian food, man. Every time I go back to that town, I try to make a point to stop there because it is the best Indian food I've had. Super good.
Yeah, that sounds so awesome. I'm a fan.
I freaking love Indian.
Really, yeah. We just sit here. We could sit here for 2 hours and talk about food, and I would smile the whole time. My wife's hilarious. She's got all these little things she does. I call her Bean, and I call them her Beanisms. And we just had a guest staying with us who was in town to get tattooed, and she was asking him how his dinner was. She's like, "How's your dinner?" And he's like, "It was good." And her response is, that sounds good. All he said was, it was good. She's like, ooh, that sounds so good. That's just how we be living, We like to eat. I got to be out walking, trying to fish so I can stay moderately in shape.
Right. Yeah, dude. I don't know how I'm not like 400 pounds because I'm a foodie through and through. Like, that's what I prioritize things on. It's like, okay, where am I fishing? Okay, where am I going to eat? Or where am I camping? Oh, where am I going to eat? Or what am I going to cook? I'm
That's
always
my
prepping
traveling.
around food.
That's my traveling for sure. Anytime we go out of state, I'm like happy to be known for it too, where I'll have tattoo clients at this point who will just be like, hey, I'm going to be in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, where should I eat? Because they know that I've worked there and I always just prioritize getting the right food. And most cities, I at least have one place I can recommend.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's freaking awesome. So speaking of tattoos, how long have you been tattooing for?
It's been a while. I had like a weird bringing in. I've been a licensed tattooer in the state of Arkansas for 15 years. And I've been working in a shop now for, I think, 17 or 18.
Oh, wow.
I started in that shop at the end of being 19 and I'm 20 or 37. So yeah, 18 years of working in a tattoo shop.
Damn.
Which is wild, man. I still feel excited when I walk into like a nice tattoo shop, and I love to be a part of it. And just to be a part of that culture is such an honor that I still feel so new. And I worked with guys who have been doing it for 35 years and stuff. So I'm always going to be new in comparison to those guys.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like it's been almost half my life, I think, in a tattoo shop. And I'm still feel like I'm fresh, and just excited to see it. I also feel like a jaded old man sometimes, like complaining about the way tattooing has changed, but I'm just happy to be a part of it. And I've also have my own little place in it now. I'm not in competition with other tattooers. I just have my little thing I do. And I don't tattoo full time anymore either. I have like a private studio in town that I work out of, but I really do like 3 appointments a week. And some weeks I'll do 1, some weeks I'll do 5, but I keep it pretty simple. My online store keeps me so busy that I don't have a ton of time.
Right.
Dude, that's sick.
And I can imagine like booking clients from out of state or traveling. How does that play in with it?
It's tricky because I'm really bad at answering messages. I'm just like shitty at corresponding to people. And so I do a horrible job of booking people. I wish I did better, but I just don't. I have like probably 700 unread texts right now. And but the thing is, like, when I sell something on my store, I get 2 emails. I get one from the credit card processor and one from the store. And so like the other day I put up some little nippers I'd made that had a little doodle on them, and I got 450 orders in 24 hours. So that's 900 emails that are not meant to be read. I don't need to read them. Yeah. But if you emailed me about getting tattooed in that 24 hours, I will never see your message because it goes back that far. Yeah. So I made another email address thinking like, oh, I'll use this and this will help me to keep appointments. And then now it's the same where it's like, I just can't keep up with any of it. Instagram's the same way where like, if I post something on Instagram and it gets shared and the person tags me in it or like writes @Drooler in their story, I'll get an inbox from them that Instagram makes. And so if I make something that gets shared 15,000 times and every 10th person tags me, it's like 1,500 inbox messages. And so I'll be talking to someone about getting tattooed and they'll be telling me they want to come from like Jersey or Pennsylvania or something. And I'm honored still that people want to travel to me. And then something will happen and I'll never see their response. And I wish I was better at it, but I don't really I'm already doing a lot. And so it's hard to do it as to the best of the ability. I'd have to trim the fat, I guess, on my operation to do a better job. And I like the fat being here. But I don't really want to change anything. I don't want to change anything. I just want people to understand that I'm bad at it and be patient with me.
Right.
But I do have a lot of
a follow
out-of-towners.
up message or something.
Yeah, I tell people that. I tell people when I tattoo them also, I'm like, if you ever want to come back and you reach out to me and don't hear from me, just message me again. I'm not trying to ignore you. I just am bad at it. It says on my Instagram, it says bad at corresponding, and there's just too much. You can't keep up with that much.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not possible. There was a day I posted something and I went and did a tattoo and I got done and I had like 150 replies. And I sat down and emailed or messaged everyone back, starting from the bottom and working my way up. And it took me about 2.5 hours. I think I sat on the toilet for like an hour and a half because I just got stuck there answering these messages. And I finally get done, 150 messages, and I go up and hit refresh, and I have like 180 because everyone replied to me, plus like new people. It's like, fuck it, I can't answer any of these. You know, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that anyone cares. It's just really hard to balance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do have a lot of out-of-state people, and I try to, if I can, be a really great host. I don't want people to just show up. Like, I don't want it to be like, hey, your appointment's at 3:00, be there at 3, tattoo them and take their money and say, nice to meet you. I want it to be like they're my friend coming to hang out. So generally when I have out-of-state people, I try to take them fishing if I can. If they're coming here, they're usually coming here for fishing tattoos because they're usually anglers. So I try to set aside the whole day to be like, well, let's meet up in the morning. We'll go fishing. We'll grab some lunch. We'll do your tattoo. And that I was for a while, I was offering people to stay in the Airstream, where it'd be like, if you need a place to stay, since you're traveling from out of state, you can stay with us. But last year from March, like mid-March to the 1st of June, we had guests in our Airstream for 80 nights.
Oh, wow.
Because of that. And so I'm trying to tone them down on that a little bit because my wife was ready to murder me. She's a sweet woman. It's just every day there's this people in your house, you know, and I love all these people and a lot of them are so rad, you know, but it's still a lot when you just constantly are sharing a bathroom with a stranger for my wife, at least.
Yeah.
But so now we're doing a little less hosting, but I'm still trying to be like a great host for the people who come to get tattooed. So I have a guy tomorrow from Kansas City, and I'll meet him in the morning, and we'll go do some fishing, and then get some food, and then do his tattoo.
Dude, that's
He's actually
awesome.
He's coming to Hot Springs for the weekend, so maybe you'll bump into this guy out on your water.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
Nice.
Dude, that's
So-
freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So how did go ahead, Jose.
You're good, dude. Yeah, so talking about tattoos and fishing and all that. So how did the concept or the idea to merge like the two things you're passionate about come to be? And like, did you ever think it was going to take you to where you are now, or you know, and evolve into a YouTube series, which is awesome, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks if you watched any of them. Thank you. That's the hardest thing I do. Also, I should say that like I would rather like I don't know. That making YouTube videos is the hardest thing. And it's funny because I look at like YouTubers as I kind of think those people are boobs most of the time, where you have like some guy out on the water wearing 2 GoPros, like trying to talk and be a personality. I hate that stuff. And so I didn't really want to be a part of it, but I had that idea for that little series and I wanted to make it happen. So I'll go film them. I've got like 4 of them filmed right now that I haven't edited because I just hate it. One of them's been filmed for over a year with some guys who came all the way from Sweden, and I still haven't edited it because it's such a chore. But it started originally bridging tattooing and fishing. It was just an idea of, if I do this, maybe I can get more like anglers to come get tattooed, just so I can enjoy having conversation. And most important in my life is building community in all aspects. If you're a skateboarder and you grow up at your local skate park, all the other skateboarders are part of your community. Whether you hang out with them outside of the skate park or not, you still know all their names. You see them there all the time. You may remember what tricks they do, you know? And just as a kid growing up at a skate park and stuff like that, and looking for community as an adult, like tattoo shop culture, there's a lot of community in that. And then fly fishing has a good amount of community. And I just wanted to bridge it together. And so I started just drawing like drawing fishing art and kind of pushing it and asking if people wanted it tattooed under the hopes that maybe I could get to a point where I do like one a week, or like maybe I could do one fishing tattoo a week. I was a very busy tattooer at a normal shop doing very normal people tattoos. So like infinity knots and angel wings and stuff like that. I was doing all that stuff and I was booked out months doing it. And I just wanted to break that monotony with someone I enjoyed sitting with. And it worked pretty easily. I started tattooing fishermen probably once a week. And then I started making stickers for the sole purpose of having something to post on social media that was fishing art rather than just posting drawings every day saying, please come get this, please come get this. It was like, I'll make some stickers and that way, if I share it more than once, it'll be okay. It's like taboo in tattooing if you have social media to just be sharing the same tattoo all the time. People are like, come on, man, we already saw this thing. If you follow a tattooer and once a week he shared the same tattoo, you would quit following him. Right. But if you are sharing sticker designs that you're selling, it's totally okay to do that because it's like part of your products. So I started making stickers for the sole purpose of having stuff to post on the internet in hopes that I would get to do more fishing tattoos. And then now I do way less fishing tattoos because of those stickers, because I have to pack those orders and deal with all that all the time. That really took off in a way I could have never expected. The fishing tattoo thing took off in a way I never could have expected. There's like 20 dudes in the United States right now doing fishing artwork for tattooing. And when I started doing it, that wasn't a thing. There was a few guys who had dabbled, like there was a guy from South California, Charles Belnavis, his Instagram's Tattoona. He'd been doing saltwater tattoos for like 20 years, but he was still posting all kinds of regular tattoos on his Instagram. It wasn't focus. Yeah. You had Kyle Franklin from Minnesota had done some fishing stuff. There's a guy named Mike Belzell who lives in Malvern, Arkansas now. He's like an old sign painter who'd done some fishing already, like a flash set of fishing stuff, but they never had honed in on one thing and just stuck with it. Yeah. And then Danny Reed, who has Crooked Creek Holler, had just started fly fishing. And he was a huge help in making it become a thing because Danny was already a very popular tattooer. And then as soon as he started fly fishing, I think he posted that he caught his first fish on the fly. And I think 2 weeks later announced his clothing company that he was starting. That was like an outdoors clothing company. And people started getting a lot of that stuff after that. But it wasn't, the path hadn't been cut yet when I started doing it. And then now, I think there's seriously probably 20 plus artists doing fishing tattoos now. Not like it's their sole hustle, but I just never would have thought it would have grown to be as big as it is. I'm so thankful for it. I'm thankful for the clientele, and the community that's been built around it. And now like these other tattooers that are doing it, I don't feel at all like they're stepping in on my hustle or like I'm competition with them or anything like that. I feel like it's people who are a part of a community that I got to help to grow. Yeah. It's a neat thing, man. I would have never thought that it would work the way it has. I literally wake up in the morning and send my art all over the country. And then I sit down and draw and like make stuff that is going to sell. And that alone is crazy to me because I've never identified really heavily with being an artist or anything like that. If anything, I was like, I'm more of a comedian that can draw. And that's how I look at it. But yeah, I mean, I totally get to make a living from drawing stuff, and it's fucking wild. I don't lose sleep over it or anything like that, but thinking about it it's really difficult.
That's freaking awesome though, because like they're two like far separated things. Most people think about fly fishing and they imagine a 70-year-old man in a vest and a bucket hat in a stream and some waders, and it's like the whole community of fly fishing is transforming. And now there's fly shops like the Fly Trap that has a tattoo shop in the fly shop, and Honey Hole Angling, their podcast did a event and to benefit Real Recovery, and they had a tattoo artist there doing fishing tattoos there at the Ironfly competition, and so it's like you're starting to see
like crazy too.
That things are merging. Yeah, he tattooed for like 8 hours straight at this event.
I wonder who it was. Constant. You know who it was?
Oh, he was. I can't remember. I'm sure I can find it.
I think
wanna say his
I
name
follow
was,
him on
like,
Instagram, but I can't remember his handle.
Gabe or something like that.
Okay.
But he's out
not
of
Octopus
Austin.
Gabe. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe if it's Austin, there's two. Probably Chris Carlton or
No, I don't think it was.
oh my goodness, my brain. I'm friends with this guy.
He was a Hispanic fella.
Carl Cook, Jeremy Carl. Oh, wow. Then I don't know.
Yeah, he's a young Hispanic guy, and he did some good
Okay.
work.
Yeah,
I wonder
did
who
really
it
good.
is.
And some guys got the first tattoo at that event,
But
which is pretty sick.
yeah, quite a few people got their first tattoo at that event.
Yeah, I wonder who it is. Oh, there's another guy who is a young Hispanic guy who, oh my God, I feel like such a jerk right now. He works with my buddy Trini in, I'm going to spit his name out in like 20 minutes. It took me a minute to think of Jeremy's name. Austin has 4 dudes who fly fish who tattoo. And they're all great at what they do.
Yeah, he had some awesome
let's
artwork,
see.
man. What is his
Carlos
name?
Ibarra.
Dude, yes.
Not even who I'm thinking of, I don't think. I gotta look, dude. I gotta reference this real quick because I gotta know who this dude is. And I'm gonna look, and it's gonna be the guy that I'm thinking of, and I'm gonna feel like a jerk for if you confuse his name. So
Yeah,
that
his
guy,
name is,
Jeremy Carl. It's not the White
Ladder Society.
Yeah, okay, that's what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. White Lake
Yeah.
Society. Yeah, I have a story about it. My brain, my Rolodex it's good. It's just always, my Rolodex is always jamming where it's like, I have it in there. So there's a tattooer from Austin. His name's Jeremy Carl Cook. He's a fly fisherman. He does a lot of fishing stuff. But I used to see his name spelled out on paintings he would make, and I thought it was Jeremy Carlock. And I don't know why, or like I thought it was like one word because he always wrote it together, like Carl Cook. And so just thinking of that and trying to say his name right fucked my brain up. Carlos is really nice. I met him in the coolest way possible. My wife and I were in Austin, and we just got in a hotel, like sitting there, got a hotel somewhere downtown, and we just walked to like go party, like we're gonna go eat and drink. And we didn't know where to go in the area. So I posted on Instagram as we were leaving our hotel that I was in Austin looking for food and bar recommendations. And we walked. So we walked down to like 6th Street, and we're just walking. We go to some bar that sucks. We're like bummed. 6th Street sucks. You know, if you've ever been to Austin, it's like,
Yeah.
But it was where we were in that area. So it's like, this is where we're going to go.
Yeah.
So we're walking around, and we just grabbed some street pizza from like a walk-up window, and we're just going to find a place to sit. And Katie's like, there's kind of a high curb right over here. So we just walked to sit on the curb of this area, and we sit right in front of a tattoo shop. And I'd open my phone to see if anyone had messaged me about what bars were good. No one had messaged me. We're sitting there eating this pizza. And then I open my phone again 3 minutes later, and I have a message from that guy, Carlos. And he messaged me and gave me a list of bars and restaurants. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, let me see if he's a fisherman or a tattooer, because honestly, I always take the word of tattooers over fishermen on where I should go drink and eat, because tattooers are reckless with their money, and they party the same way I do generally. And so I click on this dude's page, and it pops up, and he's a tattooer. And I was like, oh, sick. Where's he work at? And I see it, and I was like, that's the name of the shop we're sitting in front of. And I turn around. I mean, like 6 foot behind me. And I turn around, and I look through the window, and there's a dude standing there who's looking at me, who looks like really like surprised to see me. And so I was like, is this the dude who just messaged me on Instagram in this whole city? He's 20 foot from me? Like,
That's
how crazy is that?
insane.
So I walk in the door, and the dude looks up at me, and he goes, what are you doing here? And I was like, are you Carlos? And he was like, fuck no, I'm Trini. And he's a client of mine who comes up to Arkansas and fishes with me, and his dad comes, and they both get tattooed together. Trini Jr. and Trini Sr. They both get tattooed together. And he works the counter at the shop. He's like, no, dude, I'm Trini. I was like, oh my God, I didn't recognize. He's like, yeah, this is Carlos. And the dude's standing right next to him. And it was just the craziest, like, a really small world scenario. You know?
Dude, that
Of
is
all the
wild.
people in, yeah, it was nuts. And he's such a nice guy. We talk sometimes. I'm so bad at names tonight. Sometimes I'm really good. It's probably all the coffee and beers.
That'll do it.
That's so cool.
Dude,
though,
Yeah,
that is
man.
freaking insane though. Like, what are the odds?
We had a few cool things happen that weekend. I like hate social media. It's funny. I make a living off social media, and I always say if I didn't, I would delete it because I don't like what it's become.
Yeah.
But every now and again, you get a little glimpse at what it could be if
Yeah.
people took all the bad part of it out.
Right.
The problem is that sex sells and politics sells and all those things that make you feel like you need more information that just keep you scrolling
Mhm.
are the things that get pushed to the front of the line. But there's a lot of really cool connections that can be made with that. It just gets drowned out by the bullshit. But stuff like that happens on occasion, and it always makes me think of like how neat it is to have that online community available,
Yeah.
even though you have to weed through a lot of bad to find the little moments of good.
Right. That's true. Damn. So, did you find a good bar?
Yeah, we did.
Where's recommendations
Well, it was
any
funny.
good?
We were right across the street from Casino El Camino, and
Mhm.
like it's the bar that oh my god, from Dawn Till Dusk is based out of that film, and so Dusk Till Dawn. My brain isn't working, but it was right across the street, and we just ended up going over there, and the guys from the tattoo shop came and joined us because they were closing. And it was really cool because I got to hang out with Trini and Carlos and all that. And I love Trini, and I can't believe I didn't recognize them immediately. I just wasn't expecting it. You know, like you
Right.
just bump into someone when you don't expect them. I have that happen sometimes. And, you know, you bump into someone in another country that you know from your hometown or something like
Right.
that, where you almost don't even recognize them because you just didn't put it together, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that was one of those things. But yeah, it ended up being great. Hung out at Casino El Camino and then made more friends in Austin that weekend. It's a good place. Cool fishing down there
awesome.
too.
Dude, there
Mhm.
is some good fishing around Austin. Last time I went fishing in Austin, we went and fished Lower Colorado and got on some Guadalupe bass. And
Nice.
that's a fun float to do.
Yeah. I need to do more down there. I fished the San Marcos with my buddy JD, who's a tattooer in San Marcos. And
what
it
shop
was
does he work at?
Our Lady Tattoo, Your Lady Tattoo. They just lost a tattooer. They just had a guy who works there pass away, which was a real bummer.
Really?
I think it's Our Lady.
Mhm.
I'm just asking me names right now. Sometimes I'm sharp as a tack, and right now I feel like I'm sharp as a marble. I'm just not able to spit anything out correctly.
Yeah, no, I lived in San Marcos for a while. I went to college there, bought a house there. That's actually where I moved to Arkansas from, was San Marcos. So,
Cool.
yeah.
I've worked at Classic Tattoo there. There's a woman, Morgan Habe, who's an excellent tattooer who owns that Classic Tattoo shop. And I don't have friends that work there anymore. I used to have a friend that worked there, but which is why I started going there. But I just respect her so much and like what she does. So if we go down there, I want to at least stop in to see it
Right.
because yeah, she's so talented and such a hard worker. So I don't know what else famous or well known in San Marcos, but Classic Tattoo. I'm pretty positive it's Our Lady now that I think about it, like Lady Guadalupe-esque. You know?
Yeah. Huh.
But
I'm not familiar with that shop, but yeah, that's freaking awesome, man. Yeah, San Marcos is a good place too. I think I'd prefer fishing in San Marcos, but more than I'd prefer fishing in Austin. So definitely a better place.
There was a farmer's market on that little square right down there in San Marcos, and there was a guy set up playing music. And I looked at him, I was like, that dude looks so familiar. And he had just played at a restaurant opening in Russellville.
Really?
Like a week before. And I'd seen him there. It was my buddy at the time's restaurant that was opening, and they knew each other somehow from Colorado and brought the guy here to play his opening. And then I was just sitting there watching this guy on the street playing San Marcos. I was like, man, sometimes I feel like, you know how people say you're living in a simulation and you just kind of laugh and then roll your eyes like because it's just funny and not real. Sometimes I'd be feeling it though, or I'd be like, oh, this guy should not be here. Did they run out of did they run out of the NPCs so they had to put this guy here? You know,
it's a glitch in the Matrix for sure.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, I always feel like when those things happen, it means you're in the right place at the right time. Right. And so I feel like the thing I was talking about with Carlos and Trini, I felt like I was in the right place at the right time because now I got to go have dinner and drinks with these guys and have a great night. And that same thing with San Marcos. I felt like I was supposed to be there.
That's freaking awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how big of a world it is, but yet how small of a world it is. Like Jose and I grew up with a guy that I didn't know that him and I were both born in Alaska. And I knew this guy for decades, never knew that me and him were both from Alaska until I think I was in college, maybe he was even after college, ran into him at a bar, hadn't spoke to him since high school, and got to talking just over drinks, hanging out with friends. And I was like, wait, dude, you're from Alaska? I was like, dude, I'm from Alaska. Never knew it the whole time.
The whole time.
Yeah.
We
just grew up together in Texas.
I have to run to the bathroom real quick. I'm going to set you guys down for a second. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Oh, man. Still got to turn this light down. It's blasting my eyes.
Blinding
there
you?
Go. Yeah. It's hurting. Is the lighting still like decent?
Yeah, that's still good.
Yeah, shit was bright as fuck, dude. It's hurting my eyes. Oh, man. So how goes it, broski?
And I smell popcorn. And I think Adeline made popcorn because I smell it.
She knows how to make popcorn?
Dude, did I not tell you she's been cooking a lot lately? Like cooking.
Well, you told me she made a pasta dish the other day. Like a week ago.
Yeah.
Something like that.
She made spider sliders last night. She made hamburgers and French fries from scratch and then made them look like spiders. She made chicken sandwiches 2 days ago. She made... She's cooked like 4 or 5 things now, and she's doing it all, making her own cream sauces and everything.
The day she could teach Sarah.
Yeah, she's loving it. Sarah doesn't cook?
No, dude. I mean, I made it sometimes.
The coffee and beers, they caught me.
Hey, that'll definitely catch up with you, dude. Freaking energy drinks get me, and I never drank energy drinks before, and now I find myself drinking probably one a day. I'll take a break. I'll go like 3 or 4 days, and then I'll wake up tired one day, and I get one. But I won't make it to my office before I got to piss. I got to pull over halfway through. I'll pull over in Benton at the Casey's there and piss because their restroom's always clean. It's like I just can't seem to hold it in after I'm drinking some type of caffeine.
I'm the side of the interstate peer. You know, the guy you see on the side of the road just peeing by his truck? That's my move, you know? But not a side of the interstate shitter. I haven't gotten that bold yet.
I did that once on the side of Highway 70. I had to.
Yeah, I mean, it has to happen sometimes, but like, it doesn't always have to happen when you, like, sometimes I would pee on the side of the road when I could have maybe made it somewhere. Yeah. It's just, I haven't got that mentality for pooping on the side of the road yet.
Yeah.
Soon.
Same.
I'm growing. I'm growing as a person.
I piss on the side of the road all the time because, like, I work out in the field majority of the time. I've been going to my office lately because we're doing a lot of government grant stuff. But whenever I'm not in the office, I'm always out in the field doing some type of inspections or some type of construction stuff, quality checks. And I just, wherever I'm at, don't matter if I'm on a interstate or if I'm on a back road, country road, neighborhood, it don't matter. If I gotta go, I gotta go.
Yeah.
My daughter's the same way too. Right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she pissed on the side of I-30 a couple weeks ago. Actually, on the inside lane of I-30 because we're stuck in traffic. And she's like, I gotta go. I said, well, you're going outside. I remember when she was like 4, maybe 5, and I was at the car wash vacuuming my truck, and she just went in the middle of the parking lot and dropped her pants. I'm like, no, what are you doing? She's like, I gotta pee, Daddy. I was like, dude, we're like a block away from home. You can't wait for me to finish vacuuming the seat.
you got to respect it.
Yeah, hey, she don't care, and it works. It's better than her peeing on herself or peeing in the truck. So
that's right.
Yeah. So, but I guess we'll get back to it now.
Yeah.
What was the last thing we were talking about? I forgot. Oh no,
well,
you're good.
Asked me about
small
about bridging fishing and tattooing was my last. prompt, and then we got
That's
to the
right.
small world aspect. And I could go on about
Mhm.
those forever because I've had a million of them.
That's freaking awesome.
Well,
It's
I guess
crazy.
staying
It's
on the
fucking
tattoo
wild.
and fishing thing, is there a tattoo like you really want to do for a client, or like a trip that you really want to go on with a client, or like a tattoo that you've done already that just really sticks out?
I've not got anything that I necessarily want to do, just because I do have my little online store in my brand. So anytime I get an idea that I think's just funny, I usually just make it for that, or I can just post it on social media as like a little, I make all those little memes and stuff. It gets a lot of everything out of my system. When I was younger, I didn't do any art aside from tattooing. And so I would draw things that I thought were cool drawings, and I would say like, hey, I want to do this, or I'd make a little book of the drawings I wanted to do to have at the shop in case anyone wanted to pick from it. But nowadays it's like I just kind of broadened my horizons, I guess. So whenever I have an idea that I think's good, I just make it into something else. I can always just paint it or whatnot. I don't have any trips that I specifically want to take with anyone specific currently. I want to fish saltwater all the time. Like that's the thing that of course I want to do the most, but it's expensive. It means time away from home, and that makes it kind of difficult. I just had a bad saltwater trip too. In January, we went to Roatan, Honduras. My wife and I did, and it was very rough. I had done as much research as I could, and it was just really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And I should have known, but like the locals there spearfish everything and they eat everything. So like I asked a guy if who was like the kid who ran the place we were staying, I asked him if people there eat bonefish or permit, and his response was to tell me good recipes for them. But they'll spearfish a sea turtle there. They just, it's an island. They're islanders. That's how they eat, whether it's protected or not. That's just how it's treated. And so there are fish there, and I did get a couple shots, but there was nowhere near what I expected. I fished Belize in January, and we hammered fish. It was so much fun. And then I went back to Honduras like a few days later after that, and it was so difficult. So it took the wind out of my sails for saltwater trips for a short period of time.
Yeah.
But
is that the
that's
trip
stuff
that y'all ended up taking a picture with the sloths and monkeys? Because
that was the Honduras. Yeah. My wife, I try to appease her with like some touristy stuff. She fly fishes and she's a great angler, and but she doesn't want to do it nonstop. I'll go and from sun up to sundown. If there's flats to wade, particularly stuff like that, I will fish from sun up to sundown. Like I won't eat, I won't drink water. I'm just focused on that. And she was like, I'll go fish for 2 hours and then go have the rest of the day. So we ended up doing touristy stuff, which was awesome. I never do stuff like that. But we beat them up in Belize, and I think maybe the fish gods were giving me my comeuppance, because we had a day in Belize where we found this little creek. We had an extra day. It was my buddy Johnny and I, and our flight got canceled because of a storm in Houston, the one where you saw like snow in Houston. So we got stuck down there for an extra day, and we found this little creek that was chock full of tarpon, and we caught way more than we should. And there's a moment when the fishing gets really good that something happens in your brain where you become gluttonous, and you're no longer fishing for fun, and you're just like, I just want the right eat, or I just want a bigger fish. So it's like, I just quit casting normal flies and put on a topwater. So I just want them on topwater. And then they started blowing up left and right in topwater, and I was like, I just want one to eat it and fly in the air, before I set the hook. And I was just getting to a point where I was looking for something from these fish that was almost pornographic as far as like what I wanted to see. And I abused the situation. And when you do that, you damage your karma with the fish gods, I feel. And so Honduras was a rough trip, and I deserved it. And it was okay, but it took the wind out of my sails for a bit. I think my next saltwater trip will just be to go to Alabama, where it's safe and they'll let me catch them.
Yeah, that sounds like a smart plan. Well, I'm glad to hear that the fly fishing isn't great in Honduras, because I went on a cruise to the Bahamas last year, actually almost a year ago to the day, and didn't have any luck on the bones there. I mean, I wasn't in an area where, you know, people fly fish for them anyways. But I was like, I can't go to the Bahamas and not fish. So I took my fly rod with me and went and fished over there and didn't catch anything. So I was thinking, well, I want to take my daughter on a cruise. And I was like, well, the Eastern Caribbean was kind of like, it wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be. The scenery there wasn't great. And I was like, I want to go to the Western Caribbean. So I was thinking about doing the cruise to Cozumel, Roatan, Honduras, and Belize. So if I were to do that, I know now not to fish Honduras.
No. I mean, the thing is, when you come in on those cruise ships, they're going to take you to a different part of the island. And in Honduras, if you're in Roatan or whatnot, it'll take you to the west side of the island. And there's tarpon all by those docks and stuff. It would have value over there to fish. Okay. I had planned flats fishing, and I did all this planning myself. So I'll look at the entire island on Google Earth for like 3 weeks before we even start, you know, just looking at where I might think that's a wadeable flats. How can I get access to it? So I found what I considered like the biggest potential wadeable flats on the island that I could get to without a boat. And then I started looking for Airbnbs in the area, and I found one on the same beach. And essentially, we were in the locals area. We were nowhere near the tourist. So that was the mistake. It was if I would have been in a touristy area, while it would have been way more trafficked with people swimming and whatnot, I wouldn't have dealt with locals who live in the area going to get their food from that beach every day. Yeah. So you got people who go out there, like I would be out at sunup because it was the only time we got glassy water because we had 40-mile-an-hour winds every day right there. But in the morning you'd get a wind change and you would get this little window of glass where you might see some tails come up, and you'd see guys who'd already been out diving for lobsters, you know, or like who had already rowed their boat a half mile to be at this flat. Yeah. And my competition was locals who are on the poor side of the island who have to eat food from the ocean, and that's where they go to get it. And if I would have been in a tourist area, I might have done better. Yeah. Belize makes sense. Like Belize, you'd probably stop in like Belize City or San Pedro or something. I don't know. I think there's a cruise ship and port in San Pedro, I think. But like those areas are incredible for fly fishing. They're so easy too. There's just bonefish everywhere. And there's some big ones. There's mostly small bonefish, but there's tarpon everywhere. That whole cruise trip sounds great. I would go do it.
Yeah, I might actually cruise, do that. I've only been on one, and it was a good time. But me, I'm not the touristy guy. Like I want to go do the local stuff. You know, I want the risk of like being mugged by a local guy to be there. I don't want to be sitting and doing crap I can do in America and just do it in a different country. You know, if I'm in a different country, I want to do what they do in the other country.
Well, then, I wouldn't do it as a cruise. I wouldn't do it as a cruise or with your daughter. But you know, that whole coast there, like the Yucatan of Mexico, like the Cozumel, all that, you can fly into Cancun or into car and drive all up and down that coast. And once you get south of Tulum, you start getting into areas that are more local, and you can get robbed down there. So if that's what you're looking for, you know, you just tell someone you want to get robbed, they'll make it happen. They're a very accommodating people.
I don't want to get robbed. I just want to know that the threat's there. I don't want to be in this safe resort where I know nothing's going to happen. What's the fun in that?
I think the structure of a cruise ship would be really hard for me for like the fishing aspect because you only have 4 hours or 6 hours. Yeah, I have a hard enough time fishing. I don't even really like fishing with guides when I'm on trips because I don't want any structure. Like, I don't like the idea of someone else determining like how we're going to spend the day. Like, right. Not that I'm a control freak, but I just don't want to get like handed a prepackaged guide trip where it's like, all right, now I go to this beach and we fish for this fish, and then we go over here and do this, and they just run the same program every day. And it I don't know if you've ever done horseback, like trail riding horseback, and you get horseback like rental trail horses where they take you on some little thing and the horses are just doing the same shit they do every day, and the only time they speed up is when they're almost back to the barn. You know, that's what I think of a lot of guide trips, sadly, where it's like you get these people who are just going through the motions of trying to sell you a trip and trying to make sure, and they're just trying to make sure you catch fish. They're doing what they can, but I just want to
Right.
adventure when I'm out somewhere, and I don't want it to be predetermined.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Damn.
kind of getting to that point now. There for a while, if I was fishing new water, I wanted to try to get a guide because I wanted to learn the fishery. I wanted to learn, how to fish for it in that area. And I started realizing that everything was more about catching the fish. It wasn't about the journey. And
Yeah.
I mean, you have bad fishing days, and then I would be in a bad mood. I didn't catch anything. And it's like, now I'm starting to get to the point where it's like, I don't care if I catch anything. I'm enjoying my time out there. I'm on an adventure. I'm seeing stuff that I've never seen before, or I'm seeing stuff that I've seen before, as long as I'm out there having a good time. And so now it's more about the experience. But there for a while, it was just all about getting the fish for me. And there's just not as much joy in that. So I feel the same way.
Yeah. I like the process of figuring it out as well.
Mhm.
And, if you have caught a bonefish anywhere, you have caught a bonefish everywhere. Like, they act pretty similar, and so, but there's still little like nuances that you have to figure out for each area.
Mhm.
And same with permit, or really any fish, muskie, anything. It's like, if you've caught one, like, then you could probably figure it out wherever you're at. If it's worked for you before, you could probably learn it. And I don't like to go on a trip where someone tells me exactly what to use and exactly how to fish it, because I don't want them to put my creativity in fly fishing into a box of this is what has to be done. So I just like the process of figuring it out. Whenever I was staying in South Texas, at first few weeks there, it's just red fishing, and I wanted to catch a big black drum. And I went fishing with Fowler and his buddy Andy. And I told them that I wanted to catch, I had wanted to catch a big black drum. And then the morning before, I'd caught like a 50+ pounder. And so I was telling them that I didn't have any more goals, like I was bummed because that was my main goal. And like, you should try to catch a sheep's head. They were like, sheep's head are the hardest fish to catch on fly in Texas, and they're super difficult. And what they meant was sheep's head on the flats, but I didn't get told that. They literally just said you should try to catch sheep's head. So I started talking to people, just like normal, like elderly men outside of the gas station who had boats, about sheep's head. And they were telling me that they catch them on the jetties. So I started going to the jetties and watching people and asking questions where, like, so what are you doing? And you see guys like tight-lining shrimp down in the rocks and pulling these big sheepies out. I was like, I can do that on a fly rod. So I figured it out, and I started getting to where I was catching like 20 of them in a day. Like, I was hammering sheep's head. And I had these people, Chris and his buddy Andy had told me how hard it was. And Andy's like, I've guided here for this many years. We've only ever boated 2. Like, they're hard. And so I hadn't really, I hadn't earned them because I wasn't doing it on the flats, but I was figuring out something new. And I ended up dropping like marabou jigs, like trout marabou jigs below trout indicator, like bobbers with 12-pound line, and dropping those down in the rocks and just watching that bobber in the waves, and the wave would come up and it would stay down, and you'd pull a sheep's head out. And it was awesome. It was super fun, and catching a lot of very strong fish with human teeth and stuff like that. So it was really cool. But if I hadn't had them suggest it, or if they told me the exact way you had to catch them or something like that, it might have ruined that experience for me. And I figured something out that no one else was doing in fly fishing. And I taught Chris, which was a mistake, because he was like blowing me up too. He was like, you got to teach me how to do this, man. Like, you got to tell me what's up. And so I took him and showed him, and I was like, I got a buddy coming in next week. Please don't beat this wall up. Like, I need these fish to be here. I got a buddy coming to visit me from Salt Lake, and I want to. And then every day, Chris is down there catching the shit out of sheep's head, doing my little trick. And then he's like developed it even better, and now he's like a wizard at it. We went back to Rockport in December and went out there and did that, and it still worked. But
that's awesome.
If someone had told me exactly what to do, it would have put my ideas in a box, and then I wouldn't have gotten creative. And that's one of my things, is I just want to figure it out on my own. It's a lot of fun. And I didn't get skunked in Roatan. I should say that. The day we got there, I caught like a pretty good bonefish, maybe like a 4-pound bonefish within probably 10 minutes of being there.
Wow.
And then I didn't touch another one for the whole week.
Damn.
I had 2 shots at permit, and then I saw a school of bones, and then that was it. Caught like grouper and little boxfish and things that wasn't what I was there for. But
right,
yeah, it was rough.
So you've
It's good
caught
to
all
have a
sorts of
rough
different
trip.
species. Yeah, it is good. Every once in a while,
Yeah.
everything can't always be good.
I've gotten to catch a lot of species of stuff just because like my whole life is wrapped up in fly fishing. And while I'm not wealthy and I don't have the means to travel the way I would like to, I've still got to travel and do some fishing in some places. I make it a priority sometimes. I'm finally getting to a point where I can at least write these trips off somewhat. And so because my social media and then doing YouTube and all that stuff where it's like they're just starting to get to where they can be a tax write-off. Which because of that, it will make it easier. I just have to film and make a whole thing out of it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully in the next few, but in the exact same time, my online store is busy, so I can't be away all the time.
Right.
It's tricky, but I would like to get to where I could go travel and do more creative fishing and see more areas. There's fish I want to catch that I haven't got to catch yet. Like
That
golden
was going to
dorado.
actually be my next question. What are your top 3 fish that are your next goals?
Golden Dorado are on the list. I don't know when I'll get around to it. I would like to make a trip back to like bull trout country, like maybe Alberta, Canada. Again, I've done that before, but I really enjoyed it, and I would like to go back. And then I'd love to catch a billfish on the fly, but like sailfish, marlin, swordfish, something like that, any billfish.
Yeah.
But those situations are always guided and they're expensive. There's not a very feasible way for me to do a DIY bill fishing trip.
Right.
So that one's going to be on the back burner. I had someone in Argentina reach out who runs a fishing lodge for Dorado on the lakes there that invited me down and told me I could have a free week if I came down there, but I had to cover my own airfare. And I was like, oh, that's so awesome. I'm so excited. And then I fucking didn't screenshot their message and I have no clue who it was.
No,
So
dude.
it's probably buried 10,000 messages ago. And I'm so bummed about it because I really would love to go down there, but I don't remember who invited me.
Damn.
Damn.
Well, we
Yeah,
do
I'd like
have
to-
a little bit of a following in Argentina, so if any of y'all are listening, y'all are the ones that messaged him. Message him
holler
again.
at you, boy. I would love to do that. I didn't know what they expected of me, but I wanted to do it. We're going to go to Sweden in June, and I'm going to try to catch some char, like in northern
Dude, that's
Sweden.
so
Sick.
badass. I want to
It's
go over
not
there and
like
catch char and halibut.
Yeah, halibut would be cool. I'm not doing it as a specific, like, this is not just a fishing trip. This is actually one of the first trips I've been on in my adult life that isn't based around fishing. We're just going to go visit some friends who they came last year to visit us and fish here. And so we're going to go visit them. And we will fish because they're both like avid fly anglers. But we are going to also like go visit friends in Copenhagen and Denmark and just travel around.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick 3 fish to catch, golden dorado are on the top of the list. I'd like to spend more time with bull trout and then just saltwater fish. I'm not like overly like need a GT. I've never gone fishing for them. I would love to do that eventually, but I'm really happy to just go catch Jack Crevalle in the Gulf because they're similar shape. They eat very aggressively. They pull very hard. I don't have the experience to say they're very similar fish because you have to, you got to catch both before you can compare them.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty satisfied with those for now. And so I'm not in a hurry to try to fly across the world to catch GTs.
Right.
Those trips can be kind of expensive and you might come home empty-handed, and I'd much rather drive 9 hours and do it than spend $15,000 to maybe get skunked.
Right. Yeah, dude. I last time I was down in Port Aransas, I kayaked out and I left from where were we at? I don't even remember what part of Port A we were at. I think we were at like the mile marker 38, not miles, but beach marker 38. And I kayaked out about a mile and I was chasing birds is what I was doing. And the chop was pretty rough that day. And so I was just hauling it out there, chasing birds. And I come across this massive school of Jack Crevalles. And I'd never fly fished on a kayak in the ocean before or in the Gulf before. And so I don't have a pedal kayak or anything like that. And it was super choppy. So I had to make sure that I was facing into the waves. And I get a couple false casts, then my kayak would start turning out, put it down and get my paddles, try to straighten up again. And I didn't get a good cast at all. And then they just continued moving on. But there was probably 50 to 100 of them just breaking top water like crazy. The birds were coming down too. And I was like, ah.
No, you're so lucky you didn't hook one. I mean it too. Like we wouldn't even be doing this podcast if you'd hooked one of those fish.
Really?
They are so strong. They would have towed you to Mexico, man. They are so big. I went and did. So I have that little YouTube series where I take people fishing and they get tattooed, based on what they catch. And I went and did one with my buddy Sam in Gulf Shores, and we went and chased jacks. Sam's not a tattooer, and I'd set the goal that if I had to do the fishing and he had to do the tattoo on me, which is usually reversed. And I wanted to try to catch a jack over 30 pounds. And I had torn my UCL in my elbow a few months before. It was my first time really fishing since then. And I just didn't know how powerful they were. I'd caught like up to maybe 12 pounds at that point, like in Mexico on foot. I'd never caught just a big jack from a boat in the Gulf. And I caught a couple in the video that were in that like 25 to 27 pound range, somewhere in the mix there. And I hooked a few that were big that got off, but they just kicked my ass so hard.
Really?
And yeah, I didn't break 30 pounds. I can't believe how strong those fish are. You hook one of them and you like, I fished a 9-weight and Sam was telling me that was stupid. Like, it's too small of a rod. It's like, whatever, dude. Like, the line is what matters, and it's going to be 50 pounds. So I'm just going to tow him up. And he was right, and I was wrong. I like had a rod that was undergunned, and they just get below the boat and do these big circles after you've worn them out. So you'll fight them at a distance. You finally get them to the boat, and then you still have another 10 minutes of just reeling down and cranking up. And I couldn't bend my arm well because I'd torn that ligament. And so I had such a crappy range of motion and just got my ass kicked. So I almost threw up fighting the last one because
Really?
they were such ass beaters. So I could imagine in a kayak in choppy water. I know people do it, of course, but like, man, I feel like that would be so brutal.
I probably would have died.
Inexperienced. Yeah, you're already like trying to navigate and then just getting towed around, unable to break the spirit of a 20 or 30 pound jack. It would have been a blast,
that would have been
actually,
insane.
but yeah, it would have been so rad. It's cool that you even got to see them.
Yeah, dude, it was nuts. And I got probably maybe 20 yards from them, and I mean, it was just crazy. And then I had a couple of them come on the outside of the school, break, within like probably 15 feet of my kayak. It scared the shit out of me. And then, and so my fly, and I, if I'm not mistaken, I think I had on a clouser or maybe a bucktail deceiver or something like that. And when I was trying to get everything situated, and after they were gone, I was like, I'll just leave my fly in the water. And I was trying to get all straightened out. And then I just see my line move, and I was like, so I went to go set the hook real quick and ended up catching a freaking gaff top. I was like, well, at least I caught something. Caught something.
Those giant schools on the ocean, man, I'm still learning that stuff. And luckily, so it's funny I say I hate fishing with guides. I love fishing with guides when I'm not on the guide trip. I like when I have people who are guides message me like, let's go fish, where it's more of a casual experience. But my buddy Sam in Gulf Shores, he owns Community Fly Shop down there, and he's knows the water so well. And I've been on the boat with him out off the beach where we'll be in a school of fish where like my buddy Dave was in the front of the boat casting, and I'm just sitting in the back, and I just have my fly in the water, like right by the boat while I'm watching Dave. And I look down, and there's like 4 redfish over 25 pounds eating my popper at the boat. I'm not even popping it. It's just sitting in the water. But when they show up like that and they're that thick, like you can just have it in the water and it'll get snatched. You never know what's going to happen. It is so exciting. I get so hyped just thinking about saltwater fishing.
Same. I wish we were closer.
Yeah, well, we have a bunch of really cool stuff here. And
yeah, we do.
Hopefully once this water starts to drain out, hopefully it happens in the next week or so, because I have a lot of guests who are coming out to fish with me, and I'm going to need to put them on fish. But That's going to be a real bummer if I have people flying in from across the country to come fish and get tattooed and can't put them on fish. Because
Yeah, that would be.
I've really oversold the trip. I'm always gassing
Right.
it up. But we have such good fishing near Russellville that like I can usually take someone who doesn't even know how to fly fish, who's never held a fly rod, and have their rod bent almost all day on fish that pull really hard. And then so to have people come in who are experienced, and I just hope this floodwater goes somewhere beforehand. Well, we have really good fishing, and we get like topwater blitzes here where you'll have white bass or hybrids or striper. It's skipjack season right now with like skipjack herring, the little bitty tiny bait fish.
Yeah.
It's their season, and they act like micro tarpon. Like they'll blow up on stuff. They act like saltwater fish. They eat upward like tarpon do, but like they'll come in schools and push minnows up and everything, and they're just so rad. I'm hoping
I haven't come
miss
across
that.
those yet, dude. That would be a blast.
They look like tarpon. Like they look like a watered down version, like a mix between a tarpon and a shad. And
Really?
they have tarpon mouths. Yeah, they're so cool. But
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, you should come up here and fish
for
with me once the water falls out.
Oh, dude, yeah. Let me know when, and I'll be up there. Have you ever fished for bowfin?
I do it all the time. Yeah, I tried to catch one today. I saw a big one today, and he didn't want nothing to do with my fly. But yeah, I fished for them a lot. I've got a good amount of them recently. I had a day a couple of weeks ago. Talking about my buddy Sam from Gulf Shores. His brother Michael was up in Arkansas to float the buffalo, and he came to get tattooed by me. And we went and fished for like a morning and got into them and I caught two like 24 inchers back to back, which they don't really fight that well unless you hook them in close. Like bowfin at a distance, they kind of just do this like bulldogging thing. Like when you hook a stock trout and they don't know the run, so they just thrash about. Bowfin kind of fight like that at a distance. You get a few runs out of them, but mostly they're thrashing around.
I see.
They don't. But if you hook them in really close, like if you're hooking them really close to the boat or something like that, they're so cool to fight. The number one way I fish for them, we have a lake here that is surrounded by like heavy buckbrush that's in the water, and bowfin, they like to hunt in the super shallows, and they navigate through the trees so well. That dorsal that they have allows them to swim backwards pretty easily, so they can like back up and move forward and go like. So they navigate through brush and grass super easily. And so what we'll do is we'll take like white jig flies, like meat whistles or like sparkle minnows, but anything on a jig head, like jig woolies, any of that. And I'll put them on 15-pound line, and we'll put it about a foot off the tip of your rod. So your fly line is in your reel. You just have a foot of line out the tip. And we'll reach out of the boat and just outline the buckbrush with it. So you just put your rod tip to the water, so your fly's only a foot deep. A lot of the water I fish is brown because of where I'm at. And we'll just outline the buckbrush. You're basically just like circling the tree with your fly. And then you have to be ready with a hook set to pull back because your rod tip is in the buckbrush. So you can't set vertically or anything. And you can't strip set either, because if you miss the fish, you only have a foot between your fly and your rod tip. So if you strip set, you miss the fish, you could just rip the tip of your rod off with your fly if you pull too far.
Yeah.
So you have to do like a pull back hook set. And when you hook a big bowfin that close to your rod tip, that close to the boat, it is the coolest thing. It's like fighting a jungle fish. They're the closest thing we have to snakehead and bowfin, but in the Amazon, they have triera, which people call wolffish, or like those arapaima, like
Payara, stuff like that too.
Yeah, that's the closest thing I think we have to jungle fish like that is bowfin. And
dude, that's awesome.
They're so.
I've only went to target them once, and I went to Lake Conway and went up into the slough, and there's just cypress knees everywhere, and it's shallow, kind of stagnant water. I was like, there has to be bowfin here, and I'm walking, and I was there for maybe an hour or two, and I tripped over a cypress knee and fell with my rod in my hand, and another cypress knee went right there and just snapped my 6-weight Axiom 2X right above the reel, and I was like, damn it. And so I was like, well, I'm at least going to make a trip of it. And I walked around and found a few bowfin, and I'm like, couldn't even cast to them.
I'm noticing a trend with your stories and you falling down on fishing trips.
Yeah. I tend to fall a lot. I'm accident
That
prone.
that slough there, Bell Slough, I think is the name of that
Yeah,
one,
that's what
right?
it's called. Yeah.
Yeah, Bell Slough. There's bowfin in there. There's everything in there. There's hybrids. There's striper. They get
Really?
a full run below Conway, below Lake
Yeah.
Conway. That
Which the
Mayflower.
lake is dry now. They drained the lake for
Well,
the big
it
renovation.
filled
So.
up. It filled up during this rain.
Oh, it did?
That one rain filled that lake back up. I don't
That's
know
insane.
if they finished it or if they just closed the dam to manage the water downstream. But I
Yeah.
drove past it the other day. It was dry. I drove past it again 2 days later. And it was completely full again.
Holy shit. I might go there maybe this weekend.
I wouldn't, because now you have the amount of fish that have been isolated to that little channel for 2 years, and they're spread out across the entire lake. So it's like,
that makes sense.
yeah, I think that it might be rough fishing it for a while. But the slough below could get really good because they're going to be running enough water to get some real current in it again. And fishing from that dam in Mayflower down could be productive. For bowfin, though, I've got spots. So if you ever want to come here and do it, we can. It gets harder in the summer because the water is brown, and bowfin operate more on smell than they do on sight in brown water. But in
that makes
the
sense.
early season, when it's still clear, like we actually just missed it with this rain. But yeah, March and stuff, we caught a lot of them.
Really?
It's really
that's
fun.
Good to know. Yeah, I'll definitely be hitting you up sometime. That's one of my goals from last year that I didn't get, and this year it's definitely a goal of mine. Last year my goal was carp, and I tore up the carp. And the apartment that I just moved from, actually, I used to live down off 7 South in Hot Springs, and dude, I would tear up the carp back there. It was and I mean, they're all 20-pound plus carp. They're so fun. So, but this year goal is definitely bowfin.
Is it common carp down there, or you have grasses?
Yeah. Common carp, and koi.
Okay, cool.
There's like a whole school of koi. There's like 8 different koi that run around with those commons. And dude, there's one in there. It's like the length of my arm, pure black, has this long wispy tail, like it's a butterfly koi. And then it has just white at the end of that. Dude, it looks so cool. And I've seen it twice. Both times I wasn't fishing. I caught it was a partially scaleless, almost white and orange koi that was about probably 15 pounds that I caught last year. Like it was like a mirror koi.
Yeah.
And then Jose caught a butterfly koi there a couple years ago, and it weighed probably close to 10 pounds. Yeah. Those koi are fun to try to target, but I want to get that big black one, but dude, bowfin is definitely up there also.
Bowfin are cool. I had there's a couple that comes from Wyoming's where they live now. They're both named Taylor. So it's a husband and wife. They're both Taylor and Taylor Moreland. And Taylor girl, like wife, was in the front seat of the boat. Taylor was in the back. And he had hooked a drum. He was like basically just dragging us fly behind the boat, and hooked a nice drum. And it was in that moment, we've been trying to catch bowfin for like 2 hours on this lake, and she had caught a really nice bass. And it was in the moment that he was hooked up that she had a really good, like a 6 or 7 pound bowfin eat her fly. And this is a foot off the tip of her rod right at the boat. And it was my first one to catch doing that technique. I just I'd hoped it would work, and it did. But this fish comes flying out of the water, like tail walking, goes under the boat. I'm like stomping on the boat trying to get it to run out. And finally it like tail walks out from under the boat, hits the water, and she's got like 5 foot of slack line in her hand, but she didn't clear it. So the rod tip is still a foot from the fish, and she's just steering it around. And it's also with like my rod, so I'm just waiting on my rod to explode, you know? And I'm like, clear line, you know? And I grab the net, and the fish comes tail walking back to the boat right as she's letting go of the line, and just lands right in the net. And it was just the most exciting, like I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. You know, it's just one of those moments that just has electricity in it, and you just feel like this is what fishing for these fish is. And I haven't had that exact experience again. I wish I could recreate it every time. But last year was my first time to really target bowfin. I usually catch like 2 a year, fishing like river trips on accident. But last year was my first time to just target them. Like, I'm going to catch bowfin. And I might have gotten maybe 200 of them last year. But
really? That's insane.
It took some learning, and it wasn't always great. And a lot of them were small. I didn't start getting into really big ones last year. I got a few, but like this year I've caught, I mean, we broke 24 inches a handful of times already. And then last year I might've done it twice.
Really?
So a lot of small bowfin last year, a lot of like 14 to 16 inches, and they're not fun. They're not a fun fish to catch. It's cool because they're bowfin and that's what you want. Yeah. But it's not a joy.
The big ones are where it's at.
They're so cool, man. They're so cool.
Hell yeah. Well, we're kind of getting close to the time where we got to cut it out.
Yeah,
man. I feel like we can sit here. We lost Jose towards the end. He's having internet issues, but yeah, man, I wish we could sit here and talk all day because I know that we could. But I mean, before we close it out, do you have any spots where you want people to, go find you, like your drooler at Instagram, your YouTube, anything you want to plug, anything coming up soon?
No, not particularly. I mean, I'm always doing new things, but like I have more, I have like a manpower shortage with my life. So I never really try to over promote anything because I had last week I posted some dumb product that did really well, and I'm still packing orders. Like I packed orders for 5 hours this morning. I'm going to pack orders right after we're done with this. And so because of that, like I'll get new products and I won't even put them on the internet because I just don't want to promote them because I can't handle I'm not trying to discourage anyone from ordering from me because I'm thankful for anyone who supports me. And there are still weeks in my life that are slower, but I don't overly promote anything because I just can't keep up with, I don't know, but I'm always working on new projects, always trying to make new and fun stuff. And I love when people like it, trying to lean into doing like more skateboarding related art that's still going to be fishing. I'm just trying to cross those cultures now. I've got the tattoo and fishing thing pretty meshed, and I'm trying to bring like my youth as a skateboarder into the mix. And then once that's there and it's established, then I can just die. I'll just have done everything I needed to do on this planet, and then I can just die. But no, man, I enjoyed it. I'm sorry I'm such a rambling person.
Oh, dude, that makes for a better episode. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks to anyone who lasted this long. Also, listening to me talk about Mexican food and bowfin and shitting on the side of the road.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, we appreciate your time, man. And for those of y'all that are watching and made it to the end, we appreciate it. And I'll make sure I put your links in the description and stuff like that so everybody knows where to find you. And
cool,
man, we appreciate it. So y'all listening, we'll catch y'all next time.
This has been Wildlife Outdoors. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook at Wildlife Outdoors and on Instagram at wild.life.outdoors. Let's go live life on the wild side.